I'm in escrow and the loan appraisal just came in low. Now what? Welcome back to another episode of Fridays with the Fiddle Fig, where we cover common questions, misconceptions, and myths about real estate. And although low appraisals don't happen very often, it does happen at times. And in fact, I just got a call from an agent today who had a question about one of the properties I sold this summer, and they were trying to use it as a comp because they were having issues with appraisal. So what better time to talk about this than right now? Now, before we get into things, there's one thing that's super important to know about appraisals. Appraisals determine the amount of money that the bank is actually willing to loan you. So let's get into an example. Let's say you're buying a $100,000 house. Yes, I know, $100,000, not really realistic, but it makes my math super easy. So you're buying a $100,000 house and you're agreeing to put 20% down. That means the bank is loaning you $80,000. Now let's say you get an appraisal done on that house and the appraisal comes in at $95,000. Well, now that completely shifts the amount that the bank's about to loan you, and they're going to say, well, we're only willing to loan you $76,000 instead of the $80,000 that they originally said. And so that leaves a quandary that we have to go into. And so I'm going to go through 4 examples or 4 outcomes that could come from this. The first outcome would be that the seller agrees to lower the purchase price to the appraised value of the home. So in our situation or our example, the seller would agree to make the purchase price of the house $95,000 and the bank would give a loan for $76,000. Everybody is happy and that the house closes escrow. The second outcome would be that the buyer agrees to make up the difference between the appraised value and the value that the home is in escrow at. So the buyer's down payment would go up to make up this difference. If we use our example, the bank's only willing to loan $76,000, so the buyer would have to bring in $24,000 as opposed to the original $20,000 that they were planning. The third outcome would be the buyer and the seller both give a little to come to an agreement somewhere in the middle. There's of course a million different ways this could be chopped up, but if we use our example, the most incomplex, the simplest way to do it would be the seller reduces the purchase price by $2,000 while the buyer increases their down payment by $2,000, making up that $4,000 difference. Buyer's down payment would be $22,000 and the purchase price would be $98,000. And the last outcome, the worst outcome, the buyer and seller cannot agree and thus the escrow is canceled. The buyer goes out to go find a new home and the seller tries to get their price. So these are the 4 outcomes we see typically when an appraisal comes in low. Now, of course, the ideal situation is to not have any issues with the appraisal and everything to go through at the original agreed upon terms. And we at the Selby team have a proven strategy that we use to help our clients' homes appraise at the value that we're in escrow at. If you tune in next week, we'll go through exactly how we set up and prepare to meet an appraiser on our client's behalf. So that's it for this week's episode of Fridays with the Fiddle Fig. Tune in next week and we'll see you then.